A little bit of good news that we might be seeing in terms of maybe reaching a peak with this pandemic. We're asking you if it's too soon to loosen restrictions and begin thinking about reopening the country. Send me a text, 602-444-1212. What do you think? Is it too soon? Obviously, the dilemma here is a balancing act between putting everyone's health first and making sure there's an economy that we can go back to once this virus is under control. This week, President Trump will begin meeting with a brand new task force whose sole focus will be on the business side of coronavirus, the stock market, the 17 million of you who are filing unemployment claims, and then also keeping some small businesses afloat. Over in Spain, some non-essential industries are actually getting back to work today. Spain's one of the countries that was hit hardest by the COVID-19 outbreak, so that is interesting news and good news over there as well. But there's also talk of doing a slow rollout of non-essential businesses in South Korea this morning, but officials there are warning they could lose all their progress if it's not done right. So the problem here, obviously, is that globally, the curve and the timelines are vastly different depending on which country you're talking about. Here in the United States, we do have the most number of cases. In fact, New York alone has more cases than any other country in the world. So here is our top infectious disease doctor, Anthony Fauci.
I think one would be careful before you reopen the schools, and perhaps, and again, this is going to be the ultimate decision of the authorities, it might be better to let things just stop for this season and think in terms of going back in the fall.
So that was Dr. Fauci talking about New York State specifically. Let's see what some of you have to say online this morning. This from David on Twitter. Before you answer, let's check in with someone who is perfectly healthy, has been intubated and then placed on a ventilator while isolated from their family. Oh, by the way, intubation is when they put a tube in your mouth and then slide it down your airway so you can breathe. I think I sense a little bit of... Well, anyway, yes, reopen the state. It should have never been shut down to begin with. The politicians bought into and helped feed the panic surrounding the virus, assuming we wouldn't follow suggested guidelines. Let's take a look at one more comment here this morning. This one from Facebook. Camille just says, yes, it is absolutely too soon. So here's the thing, Rachel. The country, based on the guidelines that the president had put forward about a month or so ago, we're not ready. We're not opening up for another 2.5 weeks at the very earliest in terms of that guideline that was set forth, the end of April. So I hesitate to answer this question at all. 2.5 weeks ahead of when we could even begin to start thinking about it. But I will say I'm not upset that there's a task force that is at least being proactive enough to start thinking about it for whenever the doctors say it's okay to do so.
Absolutely. And I think that all of us selfishly can't wait for things to return back to normal, whatever normal is going to be, frankly, moving forward. But you also have to keep in mind that this virus does not follow dates. Right. I know us as Americans, we're like, we love dates, we love deadlines. Guess what? Viruses don't follow those things. And I know we're comparing to Spain. We've been hit the hardest, more than any other country. Initially, we were saying we're going to be open by Easter Sunday. That didn't happen. So let's just let the virus get to the peak. Everybody needs to flatten the curve, move forward, continue doing what you're doing. And when it's appropriate, I think we'll know.
Right. Yeah, it's a good point. We'll pay attention. Let the virus run its course.